Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be unboxing the new Bambu Lab A2L 3D printer. We're going to be unboxing, assembling, calibrating, and printing with this machine, so hopefully by the end of this video you're going to have your first 3D print in your hands. My name is Nick and welcome to Thinker. Real quick before we actually start unboxing, I wanted to clarify just a couple things about this printer. So first is, depending on when you're actually watching this video, when it was uploaded online, the actual packaging and assembly process might change over time. In my previous video where I unboxed and assembled the A1 printer, a lot of very nice people in the comments pointed out that their assembly was a bit different from what I experienced. So always I recommend to consult the actual official manual and guides from Bambu Lab just to be safe. Another thing is I purchased this printer with my own money. No company or entity or person has any say or any influence on any of my videos. So this video is entirely my experience on assembling this printer. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is actually cut open this box and start taking everything out. So once we get to the actual big printer parts at the bottom of the box, we want to be careful that we're lifting everything the proper way just so we don't damage anything. So let's go ahead and get started. The build plate. So here it is. Here is the actual instruction manual on how to assemble and everything. So make sure you have this handy when you're watching this video as well, just to double check some stuff. So now we're actually going to get to the big part. So now this is the part that holds onto the AMS Lite. So we're going to carefully remove this with the foam. Like that. And you also want to be very careful because this piece of foam that holds the AMS Lite has all of the actual tools and other cables and stuff, so definitely make sure to take all of this stuff out. Do not forget any of the parts inside of the packaging. Alright, now we have the two biggest parts. So first we're going to take out this the cardboard on the side and toss those to the side. Next, we want to grab the pieces of the frame, these gray parts, these brackets that are on the back. This is what we want to grab onto to actually lift the printer out. And after you've taken the frame out of the box, you want to stand it up straight, just like this. I put the box on the ground just to help illustrate the way I'm going to actually take this printer out. So this is the way it is right now. You do not want to lift it from these zip ties. Do not do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one hand over here and then one hand diagonal on this side. And then I'm just going to lift from the bottom all the way up. And then hopefully it should be good to go. And once I take it out of the box, we have a small little bag of stuff down here, goodie bag. So it looks like we have some filament as well as the PTFE tubes and this giant thing of desiccant that was at the bottom. So now that we have the base out of the box, we're going to go ahead and remove these two zip ties, these big zip ties right here. I'm going to be using my trusty side cutters. Okay, so now that these zip ties are cut, we can start removing the side pieces of foam. And then now we also want to remove the tape holding this cable out of the way. And then hold one hand under the printer while you take the foam off, just to make sure it doesn't slam on the table when you remove the foam. Now we're going to remove this front foam, again putting our hand under the front of it just so it doesn't fall. And the last piece of foam is this one. We want to go ahead and lift up the build plate. And you can just take that foam right off, not bending any of the cables. Alright, so after we get everything out of the box, we want to look at all the different parts relatively few parts in terms of actual like assembly. We have the frame piece, we have like the bottom like base piece, the build plate, the power cord, the purge wiper, and a box full of parts and tools that we're going to use. So let's go ahead and start the assembly process. Real quick, we're just going to take a look inside this actual toolbox that came with the printer. So inside we have a bunch of tools and parts and some more stuff. Okay, so this bag looks like all of the actual screws and hardware that we're going to use to assemble the printer. This one is the Z-axis motor cover, which we'll do later. And then here are all the tools and some other parts. So let's go ahead and open up this bag. All right, this is going to be the main tool that we're going to use for the actual assembly for most of the screws in the printer. So let's go ahead and take everything out of the box and set it over to the side for now. All right, so the first step is to actually take these actual warning labels off. You want to read and make sure not to have these cables actually twisted or anything. Make sure they're all straight and good. Next, we want to take these labels off because you cannot start printing with these labels on. They will not be good. That will not be a good thing. So make sure to remove these labels. All right, and then once you have those labels removed, you want to actually put the heated build plate onto these metal brackets here at the back. So if you want to look at the bottom, you see these actual grooves with the holes. This is what we need to line up on either side. And it'll kind of click in place. And when this build plate actually like clicked into place, you'll see into those holes the actual like screw holes that we're gonna install. So that way we know it's good to go. Next, we want to look for the little baggie that says 4 heat bed. That has 4 screws in it that we're gonna actually attach to here and then to here. Using the larger Allen wrench, we're gonna screw these down into the base. Now, straight from the instruction manual, it says that we want to really screw these in tight because we don't want any wobble in the build plate at all because that might mess up our prints. So make sure to screw them in as tight as possible and we should be good to go. Once we have those screws actually installed, we can go ahead and move the bed . It's going to speak to us a little bit, but you shouldn't see any wobble or give in the actual bed, so that way we know we are all good. All right, so this next step is going to be one of the biggest in the whole assembly, so make sure you watch this very closely. So I have the frame, which is this. It's going to be facing forward, so I can see like the Bambu Lab A2L and the tool head. This is the way you want to set it straight upright. I put it in the middle of my table for a reason, because we're going to take all of this whole base part, and slide it in to the bottom right here. So how we do that is, first we want to grab this cable that's on the side. We want to pull it over onto the build plate like this. And then next we want to take the whole base part, this whole thing, lift it up, and then tilt it 45-degree angle like this. Now we can slide it in very carefully, and you'll see that these pieces should match up pretty easily. Put it down until it's flush. So one thing that I'm noticing is this cable on the side is probably going to bump into this metal in this bracket. You want to be very careful that you don't bend this too far. So very carefully just kind of tuck it in to this open hole right here when you set it down. Just don't try to bend that cable. I can see that might cause some issues. Make sure that this part doesn't get caught on this bracket. And again, just as a double check, you want to see that this white piece and this kind of gray like bracket piece, these should be pretty much flush in with each other on both sides. As long as it's really close, you should be good. And then next we're actually going to screw the bottom into the base with some of the screws. So this cable that comes out the side here, we want to feed this through that hole and then drape it over to the side, and then we'll worry about that in a future step. So next we're gonna actually slide the heated bed all the way to the front, and then there's an actual like plate right here. You can grab it just by grabbing your fingernails under here, and you just push up until it releases. Just a little bit, like maybe an inch, and then you're gonna just pull it away. But very carefully that you don't get it caught on this cable. You're gonna have to pull this cable off to the side, so then you can just pull this cover straight out. Now that we have this actual back cover pulled off, we can see the big belt that actually drives the heated bed forward and backward. That's attached to the Y-axis motor, but the part that we're gonna pay attention to is all of these green circles. So there should be 10 of them is what I have, and we wanna look for the package that says for base housing. So this is gonna be the 10 screws that we're gonna install into these 10 green circles. All right, so these are the screws that we're gonna be looking for, the base housing screws. We're gonna again be using the larger of the 2 Allen keys, and we're gonna install all 10 of the screws into these green holes. Again, being sure to make them very secure. While I'm installing those bed screws, I just wanted to say, if you guys are enjoying this video, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my new exciting videos. Now that we have all of the 10 base housing screws installed, we're gonna go ahead and grab our lubricant oil, which is this one, the green one. Not to be confused with the black one that says grease, we want the one that says oil. This is what we're gonna use to actually lubricate these side rods. These need to be lubricated every so often to keep the printer running perfectly. So we're gonna go ahead and take the cap off of this tube and then use the other pointy end to pierce open the actual oil. This rod right down here is what we actually want to get the lube onto. So we want to take your little vial and just, oh. Okay, be careful because it comes out really quick. It's very viscous oil. So very carefully, you want to squeeze out just a little bit of the lube on there. Just put a little bit of oil on the railing right there. And you can even like use the end of it to kind of like move it around just a little bit. But just make sure you get some of the oil on there all the way as far as you can go. And you want to do this on the left and right side. So here I'm going to put it on the other side as well. Don't worry if it's not completely spread out. We're going to actually move the bed back and forth to actually spread it out. But once we have the lube on the railings on the side, we're going to move the heated bed all the way back. Just like that. And then we're going to go to the other side, the front of the printer, and then do the same on the left and right side of the railings on the front. All right, here we are at the front of the printer, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil on those side rods, just like that. Bambu doesn't really include that much oil for how much we are actually gonna use, because I actually do this probably every couple weeks on all of my printers, and this stuff runs out really quick. I mean, this is a tiny little vial of it. But if you want, this is the lube that I use for my printers. This is the Super Lube, the multi-use synthetic oil. This is the silicone. So I can't really find this all the time, but if I can, I will link it in the description, an affiliate link. So I have this 3D printed cap that has the kind of curved surface to actually put on the rods, just like that. This is by far the most efficient and easiest way to apply this kind of lube to your printer. This is definitely a must buy and definitely a must print once you get your printer up and running. Now, still facing the back of the printer, we're gonna move the heated bed towards the middle of the printer, just like that. And now we can reinstall the actual cover for the bottom, which is this part. So again, very carefully avoiding this cable right here. We're gonna pull that aside and then just very carefully just push it all the way through. All right, and when we're actually putting this cover back on, if you notice right at the front, when it's gonna go into the slot, there's all these little grooves. You just wanna make sure those all click into place to make sure they're fully seated. And actually, I'm discovering that having the heated bed in the middle of the printer is actually not the best. If you slide it more towards the front, it'll be easier for this to actually click in place, but you won't be able to see it. Yeah, just make sure all of these connectors actually go in. This is actually kind of difficult, to be completely honest. Definitely not as easy as my A1. I'm gonna try to kind of wiggle it around to get these fully seated, but then we should be good to go. Okay, using both hands, I'm gonna try to put it into place. Okay, so I felt the front lock into place and it's flush with the front. Now we're ready to push this back part down and you should hear a big click. Just like that, and we should be good to go. Just for reference, on my first A1 printer, it works almost exactly like this. I didn't install this cover correctly. It was kind of misaligned and I just forced it down into it and it snapped the little like connector off. So just take your time and line everything up properly just to make sure you don't damage the actual connectors. Next, after we have the cover installed, so there's one cable and then another cable down here that's still attached with tape. So we're gonna use some kind of tool. I'm gonna use my Allen wrench to take that tape off. And now we should be good to go to install these cables and connect them together. If you see on the side, there should be these two notches on the side, as well as these two little cutouts on the connector side. We want to line those up so that they're on the same side, and that's how we know they're going to connect properly. So you just want to be very careful, seat them in place, and just click them together. Now we want to make sure, after we connect them, we want to push them down back into this hole, and then use that little Z-axis cover that came in the box. We want to take the end that has the two little notches, like that, and put it into those two little notches right there, and then just click it down into place. After that, we're gonna come back to this side cable. This is the actual integrated cable for the hot end. So if you look at the end of this cable, you should see a couple things. One is it's a regular like USB Type-C port, but on the top end it should have the letter A, as well as maybe even this sticker that says this side up. You wanna take this, obviously, and put it this side up. Next, we wanna connect it into this motor housing in here, until you hear a click. Now we want to take the parts baggie that says for integrated cable, which has two screws in it, and we're going to attach them to these two holes on the cable. Next, we're going to take off these Z-axis limiters. So these are just brackets that hold the printer head in place while it's being shipped, but the printer will not run if these are still enabled. So be sure to take these off before you start printing. There are 4 screws, 2 on the left, one right here, and 2 on the right. You're gonna unscrew those and remove these brackets. And they kind of slide to the inside, so just kind of slide it out. Next, we're going to be installing the actual purge wiper that goes on the end right here. So to do that, we're going to take the tool head and we're going to slide it over out of the way towards the middle. Now you can remove any tape or anything that's on the actual end of the purge wiper and get rid of that tape. And if you notice on the end of the purge wiper, this is actually a new feature on the A2L, is this actual little cable. So we're gonna take this cable and make sure it's sticking out like this. Next, we wanna take the actual purge wiper unit and flip it around the correct way. We're gonna pop off this back cover with this little notch right here. I'm gonna stick my thumb in there and pop it off. So that exposes the inside as well as this actual cable connector. So that is where we actually connect it. But first, we're gonna lift this cable up out of the way, and you'll notice it just slides in just like that. Once we actually pull this cable all the way out, we can see how long it is, and we wanna first connect it to the end. So again, there should be like a notch on one end. you want to match it with the notch on the connector end, and then just reconnect these cables. And make sure they're seated all the way. You might hear a little click, you might not. Just make sure that's all the way pushed in there, just like that. Now you can use the single screw from the 4-purge wiper bag, and then you can install it right at the top to connect the purge wiper. This was the trickiest part about the A1 printer install, but there is a little hole right up in there that you put the screw in and then tighten it. So I'm going to do that very carefully. And again, with this one, you don't want to over tighten since you're tightening the screw into plastic. So just good enough that it stays on there. So if you haven't already, go ahead and connect this cable to the connector, and then you want to kind of tuck it into the grooves that they have already in there, just to hide the cable out of the way. So then we can reinstall this cover, and it goes on there kind of like this. All right, that looks pretty good. So now that we have all that done, we're gonna go around and check and see if we've removed all of the extra tape and other brackets, or just double check that we've done everything right. So here I see some tape on the actual tool head, keeping it in place, and get rid of that. I see a piece of tape on this motor end, just like that. There's also one covering the actual SD card. You want to take that off. Flip out the screen, the actual touch screen, and here is the very satisfying peel of the screen. Now that we have all of the tape and stuff taken off, we're gonna go ahead and install the build plate, and I'm gonna show you how to line it up properly. All right, so now here is the actual build plate for the A2L. We're gonna put it on, and we're gonna do it by first angling it like this and putting the notches, these ones, into those back 2 notches on the left and right. And you'll feel them kind of click into place. And then all you gotta do is just lower the plate until it magnetizes the bed, and it should be lined up. You just like make sure it's good on the left and right and the front and back, just to make sure it's lined up, and we should be good to go. All right, so now this is the end of the actual assembly of the printer. Now, depending on which kind of printer you got, whether it was just the printer itself or with the AMS Lite, we're gonna go over the different options. Stick around for the whole video because you're gonna definitely, even if you have the AMS Lite, you're gonna wanna know how to install the actual top-mounted spool holder, just in case you print other materials that aren't available for the AMS Lite. For the top-mounted spool holder, that's this. I've noticed that it's a little bit different than previous versions because this actual part it's just one piece, so this part doesn't screw in, which is nice. So all you gotta do is unclamp this back part, and then this part is actually where this bar is gonna sit. So to install it, we're gonna go ahead and face it this way with the Bambu logo facing the front. Next, we're gonna actually kind of angle it at a 45-degree angle, and then kind of click it in place just like this. Now we can fold this flat back and let it click into place. And then that should be good to go. So now we can put our actual spool of filament on here. This is where we actually attach the PTFE tube, which is the next step. The printer should come with a bag of PTFE tubes. If it's just the normal printer, it should just probably have just a couple in here. I'm gonna go ahead and take them out. And if you have the AMS Lite, these will have the actual 4 tubes already bunched together, but we're gonna use this one. So this is the one that we would use just for the top mounted spool. To actually install it, we go ahead and take one end of the tube into this black part on the actual spool holder. We wanna just insert it into that black end, just like that. So now we want to take the other end and put it into one of the spots on the tool head. So now that we have the actual top mounted spool holder installed, If you don't have the AMS Lite, you can go ahead and skip to the chapter after it where we show how to actually set up the printer and load the filament in. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and assemble the AMS Lite. All right, so here are the parts for the AMS Lite. So we have the stand, which is right here, the actual body, and then the 4 spool mount holders. So first of all, let's take all of the zip ties and tape and wires and everything off of everything and get ready to go. So here I have a couple zip ties that I'm going to cut off with my side cutters. I don't see any other zip ties other than the one I slipped off up here. So let's go ahead and get these zip ties taken off. All right, and now that we're ready for assembly, we're going to go ahead and take the stand and then the actual body. And you'll notice that it has this kind of cutout here at the bottom of the shape. This is where the actual stand slides into. Go ahead and slide it all the way in so that the screw holes actually line up, and you'll see when they actually do. Now you want to find the parts bag that says for AMS stand. Go ahead and screw them into the 4 spots on the stand. And just to let you know, I did find 5 of the screws in the little bag. I'm pretty sure that this extra one is literally just an extra piece, but there should be only 4 that you insert into the stand. All right, now that we have this stand installed, we can install these 4 spool mount holders. So if you notice, they have this kind of like a yellow or green color that will correspond with the end of these. So this is where they actually go. For the yellow goes to the yellow, and this, you just slide it on there and then push it down until it clicks into place. And then also for the green ones, you want to make sure you line it up properly. For the green ones, you want to make sure the shapes inside actually line up properly. They should just click into place. So the AMS Lite is assembled, and now we should be good to go to connect it to the printer. If you are going to use this printer with the AMS, like a regular AMS, not the AMS Lite, you're going to need to use this little adapter right here. So this, you want to see this little notch right here on the bottom. You want to line it up with this little notch on the side and then just click it into place. Just like that. So here you can attach the PTFE tube that goes into the tool head, just like the top mount, and then this is where you actually plug in the tube from your AMS, just in case you're going to be using like that. All right, before we can actually turn the printer on and get it running, this is going to be a fun step. So this one you want to make sure that you watch very closely because this can be very tricky. Since the AMS Lite uses 4 different PTFE tubes that connect to the tool head, you're gonna have to connect all 4. Bambu Lab actually bunched them all together perfectly to make it easy for you. All right, I'm gonna start on the AMS Lite. So I'm gonna take my bunch of PTFE tubes. So right here I have the side with the 2 long and 2 short. I'm gonna put the AMS Lite on the right side of my printer. That's the recommended side. So sides 3 and 4 on the right, these are gonna be the 2 spots that I put the longer PTFE tubes. So these 2 are gonna go into these 2 holes. So if you notice, they will go on just like this. So I'm gonna plug this long one into slot number 3, and then this other one into slot number 4, and you just push it right into that black circle part, and it should click into place, and you won't be able to pull it out. If you do want to pull the PTFE tubes and remove it, if you want to move it around, just go ahead, don't just rip it out, push down on that black part, and then pull the tube out, and it should come out nice and smooth. So now on side 1 and 2 on the left, we take the remaining 2 shorter tubes and plug them in to those slots. So number 2 and then number 1. So again, on the right side we have the longer cables, and then on the left side we have the shorter ones plugged in. And this little connector, like this thing that's bunching them all together, you can slide this. It's not very easy, but you can move it up and like back and forth to kind of like rearrange the cables to where you want them. So go ahead and move that to where you want it. But now we're gonna take the other 4 cables and plug it into the tool head. All right, let's go ahead and take the 4 tubes and plug it in. I line it up and just plug them in. Plug them in however you like. Make sure you push the tubes all the way down so that they're nice and snug and they're not gonna pop out, because if they do, you're gonna have some problems. Again, just double checking that the PTFE tubes are not inside of this cable. If they are, you're gonna get like bunched up, and that's really, really not a good thing. I'm not sure if there's actually any warning about this, but I can see that becoming a potential problem. So just make sure this black cable is to the back of all these PTFE tubes. Now that we have the tubes installed, the last thing is we're gonna connect the AMS Lite cord to the back here to the printer. And looks like there's 2 different holes. It looks like there's 2 different connectors right here. You want to choose the one for me, it's on the left. It's got 4 pins. This other one's 6. I'm betting it's for the regular AMS. So we're going to plug it into the right plug-in. And it should kind of click in place and should be good to go. The absolute last thing that we need to do before turning the printer on is actually plugging in the power cord to the back right here. Make sure that it's in the right orientation and that it goes all the way in. Now we can plug it in, but this cable, I wanted to say this. So this is a 3-foot long cable. This is too short. Bambu, please, please start making the cables longer, because I cannot, where I have this on my table, I can't plug this in to the wall. It's just too far away. Please make like a 6 or 10-foot cable. That would really, really be nice. You can order these if you want off of Amazon. They're pretty cheap, but let's go ahead and plug it in and get started printing. So go ahead and turn the printer on. Oh my God. Okay, the speaker has definitely been upgraded because that was extremely loud. Now that we have the printer and AMS all fully set up, we are ready to start calibrating the printer. So this process should take around 25 to 30 minutes or faster. So let's go ahead and set the printer up and then get printing. Okay, so here is the setup process. Sorry if the screen looks a little weird, but we're gonna go ahead and hit start. Select your language and then your area. You can connect to Wi-Fi and connect to your actual Bambu Lab account. I'm gonna go ahead and skip it for now, but you can go ahead and make it super easy. So go ahead and check out the terms and conditions, privacy policy. For this video, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit agree, but definitely check that out for yourself. So join user experience improvement program. I'm gonna hit no, or the skip button. It's double checking that we removed those Z-axis limiters. We made sure to do that, so go ahead next. We also lubed the bottom rods, yes. I like that they're double checking these things because these are very important. We did this, so let's go ahead and hit next. So here is the calibration. So calibration for better printing quality. I highly recommend to do all 3 of these. Go ahead and do motor noise cancellation, vibration compensation, and auto bed leveling. Again, this is going to take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. So go ahead and hit start. The printer will start moving, and it might get a little loud or like rumbly. Don't worry, that's completely normal. That's what the vibration compensation and like all the rest of it does. It gets the printer ready to go and prints better. So let's go ahead and hit start. All right, so now that the calibration is done, we can go ahead and start printing. So here on the screen it says you can come back to the bind the printer. This is because I didn't choose to bind my account yet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit go. This will pop up this message every so often. It's time to lubricate the Y-axis guide rails. That's where we actually lubed like underneath the cover. This is gonna pop up every so often, so make sure to do that. So now this is the main screen. So I'm not going to go too in depth on the actual like settings and how like the menu system and all that in this video. Be sure to subscribe to see that video when it comes up. All right, now that we have the printer actually fully set up and ready to print, we're gonna actually use the included little 20-gram spool of Bambu PLA. So we're gonna use this to print our very first 3D Benchy. I'm gonna show you how to load this filament both with the AMS Lite and with the top-mounted spool holder. So let's go ahead and show how to load the filament onto the top-mounted spool holder without the AMS. So hopefully you already have the spool holder already attached. If not, go back and make sure to do that first. We're gonna go on to the main menu and go to the bottom left part that says filament. So obviously we don't have the AMS Lite connected, so we're gonna hit the EXT, which stands for external spool. We're gonna click that and it's gonna show just a question mark because we don't have anything on there. We're gonna hit edit and we're gonna actually tell it what kind of filament we have. So this right here in the top left is gonna be the type of filament, like the brand. So we're gonna be using the Bambu Lab or whichever one that you actually wanna use. We're gonna use the PLA Basic. And then the color, just for fun, we can hit the white. And then hit OK. Wait a few seconds and this should pop up with, yep, just the PLA. So now we have the PLA settings ready so it knows what temperatures and everything to do. So we go ahead and hit load and we're gonna get ready to insert that filament. So right now, if you're watching on the screen, it's gonna start heating up the nozzle. It's gonna check and see if there's any filament in there, and then get ready for the new filament. So let's let it go through this process while we take our filament and move it up to the top of the spool holder. It should eventually come up with this message, please feed the filament. So now it says it's ready. So you wanna find the end, which is like this. So it's gonna go down into the tube. You're gonna push it all the way down into the hot end. Once you have all the filament actually fed through the tube down into the hot end, we're gonna hit the finished continue button, and then it'll actually push the filament into the extruder, purge it, and then we should be good to go. All right, and if we're using the AMS Lite, we're gonna go ahead and take our little spool of filament. We're gonna take the end and actually just push that yellow button on the slot number 3, and then put the filament up into that filament feeder hole, and you notice the motor will start grabbing it and pushing it through up into the tube. So it's probably not a good idea to hold it on, to put the filament on here, because I feel like it's going to get stuck, but I'm just going to leave it off to the side kind of like this, and we'll see how it works. Now that we got the filament ready, we are ready to start printing. So go ahead and hit the print files button, and you can scroll through what Bambu has already included on the printer. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to be printing the regular Benchy. So let's go ahead and hit that button. If you are using the AMS, click that Use AMS button. If you're using the top mount, unclick it. You shouldn't have to change any of the other settings. So let's go ahead. It's going to take about 23 minutes. Use about 11 grams of filament. So let's go and hit Next. Next, we're going to choose the filament. So we got the PLA already right there. If not, you just click that and then choose whichever filament you got. Now we are ready to start our first 3D print. While the printer gets going, I'm gonna say a huge thank you to everybody watching this video. If you made it this far, you are amazing. Hopefully the printer came together just as easy as I did. I hope that you guys have some amazing projects planned. Let me know down in the comments what you're actually gonna make with this printer. I'm very excited to hear what you guys actually make. Be sure to subscribe for more 3D printer videos. Let me know what you want to see on the channel next. And as always, make all the amazing things, and I'll see you next time.